other people are talking, so this is fine.
My brain just doesn't work well, period. So,
Okay, let's start over. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Infinite Quality Podcast. It has been a while since we've been here. We got to get some of the rust off and out of our system, and for some reason, Meet Stream went away, but I fixed it.
yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah. So we may have some technical issues today.
We're totally ready for this podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we are.
Just
Uh-huh.
bear
Yeah.
with us. Got to get the kinks worked out of the system again. You know what we should do? We should try. We should try the what is it called? The guest thing that Twitch released. You guys know about this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can.
Sort of.
We might want to try that just as an experiment once to see if it's like even any good.
Worth a shot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think we can do 4 people with it. I don't know. I'll look into it more, but
Haven't
is
tried
it
it.
called guest host or something?
Something like that.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Has anybody used that? I wonder if anybody out there, guest star, has anybody actually used it yet or seen a streamer who's been using it? Does it work well?
I've not seen anybody use it. So like, this is like the most underrated feature ever, or it doesn't work. Like one or
Yeah.
the other, right?
Well, what we're doing barely works apparently. So
Well, you know what? Barely is good enough.
Yeah, we're just
After how many months? Barely is good enough. I'll take barely.
yeah, true.
I'll take
True.
barely.
Okay. So kind of the topic for today in general is I wanted to have a little discussion and change the format on the podcast moving forward. So I guess small announcement. We're going to try and like hang out with you guys and chat a bit more and let you guys in on the conversations that we're having, especially when it's the 4 of us. Maybe when we have guests on, we'll kind of ignore chat again a little bit. We don't really ignore you guys, but we basically half acknowledge your presence. And I think at this point, it's better for us to include you guys as much as possible. So you're all streamers for the most part, or a part of streaming communities like moderators. And
Moderators, yeah.
you guys all have some kind of good, valuable takes and input. And when you get things wrong, that's good too, because it helps us kind of figure out how we're miscommunicating maybe, or how we need to be more clear in what we're trying to convey. And I think we're going to get a little bit more of like a debate kind of thing going on in some of these episodes. If we do it this way, we may, instead of all just agreeing with each other and like restating the obvious over and over again, we may get a little more confrontational with.
It's just because we're all on the same page. Clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly.
sometimes.
Sometimes.
Most of the time.
90% of the time.
Okay.
Occasionally, me and Pickles have a disagreement, but it's all in the family.
Well,
Do we?
tend to. we've been
I don't know what
picking.
that means, but
We've been picking topics that have we don't tend to disagree on that much in general. So there's not much of like a debate that happens. And I tend to want to stay away from like, I don't know, clickbaity topics. Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know.
Should we just do a clickbaity episode? Just fall hard for the bait.
Just a full one.
Just take the bait full on, yeah. Just click on that bait.
So where I've been at recently with Twitch has been just kind of taking a step back for the past few months and watching streams and watching like people. I don't know. Oh, actually, Pickles, your mic's the one I think is feeding back. Something is. There's like an extra mic on or some clickiness or whatever going on.
hey, it's
Oh,
not
well, that's because I was
mine,
clicking a
which-
clicky toy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, but it's like, it was
I'll do
loud-
it quieter.
loud, though. Yeah.
I'll do it quietly.
Okay, so the Twitch in general, I think taking a step back from it and kind of watching a lot of YouTube and having a I've been working with streamers and watching Twitch for so long that it's kind of hard. My head feels kind of buried in in a bubble, I guess. I feel like I didn't have enough of a wide perspective to see maybe what's going on. And I think now, and I also tend to only watch streamers I like. Like,
What, you don't watch streamers you don't like?
Well,
That
I
doesn't-
mean, I don't know about you, but I hate watch all the time.
okay,
Just
I mean,
straight
hate
up.
watching is a thing.
yeah, it is. Okay, hold on. Let me clarify why I said that. What I actually mean is, you have there. What I'm trying to get at is there's a difference between somebody who's already established as a viewer on Twitch and what they like, and somebody who's never been on Twitch before. And it's been harder to have that perspective of what it might be like to be a brand new, like completely ignorant person to Twitch, and what their experience tends to be like on Twitch. Because I think Twitch is failing to grow. I think Twitch is failing to succeed as a platform in general. Somebody said today in the IQ Discord, which was like perfectly on topic with what I'm getting at. Who was it? It was Spectakill, I think. Let me get what he said so that it's like exactly what he said.
He's getting it fresh from the source.
Yeah. So, where did you say this? Was it in Discoverability? Probably.
Yeah.
Was it? We have too many channels, don't we?
I actually didn't see this.
Okay.
This will be news to
some
me.
of
It works
these.
better if you just don't read any of them.
Okay. The question probably should be elsewhere. Yeah, he wasn't sure where to ask it. That's fine. You said it in the right place. Has anyone noticed that nobody is growing on Twitch anymore? Almost everyone I follow has either the same viewership that they had 1 to 2 years ago or are actually in decline. I could be wrong, but it seems that Twitch may be cooling off. And this kind of hits more at what I was kind of trying to get at with this whole topic that we're going to just kind of get into a little bit today. I think Twitch has a not an exposure problem. People kind of know what Twitch is, or they know what live streaming is, but they don't know why Twitch is cool, and they don't know like why live stream. Why do people watch live streams? Do you guys ever hear that? Like, do you have people that are like don't get it?
Are you telling me the normies don't get it? Because I
Right.
can agree.
Right. So YouTube is more like a normie platform in a way. Like a lot
Yeah.
of people use it. Boomers use it. Like my parents are watching YouTube all the time. They're watching shorts on YouTube.
Well, I think that's part of the problem, right? Is that places like YouTube, TikTok, etc., have different like durations, different types of offering material. Where Twitch is pretty much just live, right?
Yeah.
And that sets it apart. But I don't know if it sets it apart in a positive way because a lot of people don't watch YouTube live.
So
Um,
I think there's a lost in translation thing about the thing that's good about good streams,
Yeah.
because the majority of streams on Twitch are not good.
Yeah.
Okay, and so like if you're a brand new,
Objectively not good. Not even subjectively not good. Just
Yeah.
objectively.
they're not
not
produced well. They have low quality bit rate. They're terrible to watch. They have bad audio mixing. They're boring. Whatever. Go, and if you don't believe me, just go to any game category and scroll down and pick a random stream.
Skill issue is what you're saying?
A little bit, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. So I think the biggest problem is live streaming is it's very easy to go live. It's very hard to have a good stream. And that means you have a majority of people that are just producing absolute garbage on Twitch. And so this doesn't help for people who are actually good at streaming and have a good stream, because we need like as many new viewers coming to the platform and enjoying content as much as possible. The reason YouTube channels grow is because other good YouTubers are bringing people to YouTube, and they watch, and then the algorithm is like suggesting you because you made a video that's similar to the videos that they watch that they like. And as long as your video is actually I don't know, good, So like YouTube has like a demand for the content to actually be good. Does that make sense? Do you guys see how
I understand what you're saying, but like, there's also terrible YouTube videos. like,
there are
like there's
But they're harder to stumble upon.
yeah, it's
That's
because
the
there
thing.
are like 100,000 more daily active users on YouTube than on Twitch. Like
right?
the amount of good things is just higher because there's more people, and the things that are bad on YouTube, there are tons of. They never get hit by the algorithm.
Yeah.
There's no real equivalent for that for Twitch because it's a live streaming platform. There's no suggested next stream. I mean, there technically is, but nobody clicks on that. They just click on their follows and then follow
Right.
through on raids.
And there's
And
something
also, like,
intrinsically.
the-
Go ahead, Snazzy.
the suggested stuff isn't really necessarily about quality or even the subject matter. Sometimes it just seems to be like whoever that person's following, and like like that, and like have clicked on before, like
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
have rated before. Like the algorithm is a mystery. That's the issue, right? Like nobody seems to know how it exactly works.
I think there's a little bit more to it though, because I don't tend to run into videos on YouTube of like garbage quality.
Right.
I
A
don't
lot of
see them. I know they're
Well, it's-
there, and you have to
YouTube-
actually go look for them.
Yeah,
YouTube
and that's
is
the
much
difference.
older. It's much more mature of a platform. Like
Right.
it's been around a lot longer.
But-
like people who are streaming on Twitch, YouTube was already a viable career option for other people by that point, you know?
Yeah.
Like YouTube's been around the block for longer, so people can achieve better on YouTube already. Like,
Yeah,
But
Twitch just
also,
isn't
like-
old enough yet.
I think it's actually comes down to something a little bit different. I think you're right, but I think that there's something that's critical here, and that's that creators on YouTube were forced by other creators on YouTube to improve and keep up with the meta or like the style, right? If you could make vlogs 10 years ago on YouTube and have a successful channel just sitting and talking in front of a camera about your day. Now you have to have highly edited, highly produced, written scripts, like the content, the demand from the viewer on YouTube is much higher. They demand a much higher quality. They have a higher expectations that if you're going to make YouTube videos, you're going to put a certain amount of effort in your audio quality, your video quality, and your editing. And the YouTube creator population in general did that in order to be competitive. They stepped up and they said, okay, well, I gotta hire an editor. I gotta get my editing better. I gotta get a better microphone. Twitch streamers in general do not do this. There's no bar that like where the streamers are raising the quality and the standard, and it just seems kind of like these anomalous streamers blow up and they can have a bad audio, they can have a pretty garbage stream and have 300-400 viewers, and you don't know what's going on or why that's happening.
It's the nature of the platform, right? So like people
Who just hit
go
a
to
guitar?
No, I'd use
Ding.
ignore me.
Pickles is
There's
playing
springs everywhere. Just
Pickles is
Oh,
playing
yeah.
music in the background, like he's recording his next album. He's multitasking. He's in his lane, moisturized.
Well, what-
no, but
what are
like, sorry, go ahead.
We apparently don't know how to wait our turn anymore.
we haven't done this in a
too
while.
long.
We haven't
We
done this.
can't. I suck at figuring when people are done talking. So like I need to really get to know people, and apparently when we go away from each other for a couple months, I'm like, they're done talking. It's my turn. But someone had mentioned in chat the idea of, let me see who it is. Lost Wolf, the idea of like the difference in critical mass as well. So like when you're thinking about the average Twitch viewer versus and the average Twitch streamer versus the average YouTube viewer and average YouTube, content creator, it's an interesting balance actually to speak to it, right? Because I think the variety and the breadth of YouTube viewers are larger, but the quality is overall higher versus there's
Yep.
a niche viewership in Twitch, but there's a lower floor when it comes to quality. And maybe it's because people, I'm trying to think of the right words for it. I almost feel like people don't always stream on Twitch with the expectation of like making something good. They're doing it because it's perceived as like an easy like hit the button and it goes. And even if it's like really terrible, it'll disappear in a couple months.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Also,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
I will disagree.
Yeah.
I will disagree. I have to wrestle OBS every time I open it. It is not easy for me to go live. So I don't know what you
Right,
guys are
but
talking
you
about. You guys
actually
just push a
have, like,
button, really? Like,
setup.
Yeah.
You have a quality kind of setup, right? I'm talking about the people that like, you know,
You're
stream
putting
through
effort
their,
in.
their PlayStation and like it sounds like they're talking through a tin can and they've been congested for 6 years.
but I think that the difference is right, and like is that like there's a visceral difference between commenting on a YouTube video of somebody like dying in a bunch of Dark Souls games, like get good, and versus going to somebody who's actually like playing a game and yelling at them to get good. Like it's the interaction that does it for Twitch, right? People are willing to forgive quite a bit of quality if they have access to the content creator. I feel like
Yeah.
That depends.
like
So I think
that trade off, right?
I think what's happening is you end up with a split audience, and then the
Oh, yeah.
viewers. So from my perspective, I'm looking at Twitch broadly and asking, why is the platform not growing in general? Because like there's no reason, like there's so many people on the planet. YouTube is still growing, and brand new channels come up all the time, and it's not making other channels suffer. They're all growing together. So what's happening? Why are new viewers not coming and sticking around on Twitch? And I think this is just my opinion, and what I suspect is that brand new people to Twitch, like their first experience with Twitch, they have a 99% chance of running into a bad stream, and they don't have a reason to like engage with that stream. The audio's bad. The stream is garbage. They can barely see the person on camera. They don't even know the person has a camera because it's tiny in the corner or something. And then they go to the next stream, and it's the same rinse and repeat. It's the same problem over and over and over again. And
I agree partially, but also at the same time, like when it comes to Twitch, right? YouTube is, you watch a video, right? The video's there. If you're bored with it, you can pause it. You can go to a different video.
Yeah.
Whereas Twitch is like you're watching a person, like you know what I mean? Like you're not necessarily there for what that person's doing, right? You're sometimes you are literally just there for that person. But I think when new people come to Twitch, right? People who've never been to Twitch before, right? Let's say this is your first exposure to Twitch. Hello, if you're a new Twitch viewer.
Oh, hi.
There's also a culture shock thing where like in a YouTube video, if I'm watching a YouTube video, I don't need to know the nuances of YouTube chat. I don't need to know what the proper etiquette for comments is. I'm probably never even going to look at the comments on a lot of these videos. But when you come into a Twitch stream, there's an etiquette and there's like a culture, right, that Twitch people all kind of share a little bit that is completely mystifying to outsiders. Like if you've never been to a stream before, right? Like you would be lost at what's going on. Like why is everyone shouting LUL, right? What's LUL, right? Like it's just there's a culture there that people outside of Twitch don't know about, and when they go on Twitch for the first time, it's just this onslaught of things going on all at once, right?
Oh my
There's
God,
alerts,
Sonny, your
there's-
keyboard is so loud. Just gotta call that out. All I can hear, I couldn't even hear.
Nobody
Sonny
can hear it on the
talking.
stream because I turned my mic off.
So no, that's what I'm talking about. All I can hear is I can't hear Sonny talking. Lol.
Lol. But yeah, no. So there's a cultural onslaught. I feel like
Sorry.
that happens when you go to a Twitch stream, right? There's a lot going on all at once, and yeah, if you're new, you're gonna get lost. You have no idea what's going on. You're probably just gonna close the app and go watch a friendly YouTube video that's gonna be much more relaxing.
Yeah. So and then streamers have that pressure to like be hype all the time too, right? And that can be really difficult because to get people in and keep them, you have to have that kind of hype energy a lot of times too. So that's really difficult. So I think it's more difficult for the streamers, so it almost is easier for them to not care in a way. To remove that like pressure of hype, but then that further lowers the quality and the engageability of the stream. So it's like this kind of Ouroboros in a way.
And like,
Yeah.
like not even to name names, but like, you go to some streams and they have some pretty outlandish alerts. We all hell, I have some pretty outlandish alerts, right? Can you imagine what it would be like if you go to a stream and the first thing you hear is like a titty rave? Like, we all know who I'm talking about.
I don't, but that's okay.
All right, I'm
Okay,
gonna
well,
like positive, but if you ever been to Bear Boo stream, she has a hilarious alert. That's just a titty rave, and it's amazing. If you're a Twitch person, if you're some rando coming in, you're probably gonna be terrified of what's
It's
happening.
very much like an inside joke with her and her community, though.
It is
like
100%.
to your
100%
point.
inside
That's
joke.
inaccessible to a normie. We'll
Right.
say
Yeah.
someone who's outside of Twitch.
So is the problem that Twitch is too much of a niche, and that's why it's not growing?
Maybe
Well, that's
It
the
definitely
challenge.
part of it.
plays a role.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the full picture, but that is a facet of it.
Like
Sure.
I kind of feel that way when I approach certain things. Like speedrunning communities have all this like shorthand jargon for things,
Exactly,
and
yeah.
they'll sound like they're talking a completely different language. And that, as somebody who's like interested in speedrunning but like doesn't know anything, like I'm a normie when it comes to speedrunners. Like
But-
it makes it feel unapproachable. Like I can't.
But even then, you still have a baseline that people outside of Twitch don't, right?
Yeah.
Because you still know the shape of the stream in general, right? Like,
Yeah, true.
The basic outline of it, right?
But my
You-
concern is that you end up with having new viewers come to Twitch and they just run into bad streams and then they leave the platform, just go back to YouTube because they have no faith that they're going to run into a stream that they like or find a stream that appeals to them after clicking on 3 or 4 random streams.
And what I would say is not even necessarily a bad stream. They might run across a good stream, but just be lost because again, there's all
Right.
sorts of inside jokes, jargon, like you said, right? Maybe somebody is vaguely interested in speedrunning, right? They saw a speedrunning video on YouTube, and then they go watch somebody actually speedrun live. Like it's completely different because on YouTube it's curated, it's edited, it's presented in a much more stable format. Whereas on a live stream, sometimes all hell breaks loose. There's a lot of things going on all at once, even though there's, it's the same content, right? Speed running, for example, right? It's still the same content, but a live stream of a speed run is completely different from a video of a speed run, right?
Yeah. Well, it's also like I watch a lot of live content on YouTube, but not when it's live typically.
Yeah.
Like I watch a lot of podcasts and discussions and interviews and stuff. So I do like live content, but I don't feel the need to be like in the chat and interacting. But I'm also like, I like being in my room alone, unbothered by the world.
Tell me what that's like.
I don't, I'm not a people person in a lot of ways. I like people a lot, but I tend to not go out of my way to try to be around them, I guess. I get
think that
my people meter gets full very quickly, right? So,
right, but and the challenge too, though, and to speak to some of the chat too, the role of Twitch should be different than a YouTube. That they have a different flavor, but I think what's really difficult is Twitch has kind of created itself to cater to specific communities, to specific pockets, to to hook those in and kind of create. We've talked about that concept of the whales, whereas other formats are much more. You get bits and pieces, and it's much more digestible, and it's much more generic. So it caters to a larger audience, but you're going to have less devoted people. So Twitch, by and large, I feel like creates more devoted but smaller audiences for the most part. But it's trying to get those audiences in and have them resonate with your material that's really difficult. It's a totally different thing if you actually take a step back and look at that.
yeah,
But
it's true.
how do we bring those people in? How do we, show the people that come in and see streams and go, what is going on? How do we get them to take that step in and go, okay, this is cool. This is a cool place to be, right? How do we bridge the people that are already ingratiated and connect with the people that are kind of like dipping their toes in the water. Because Twitch has to stand out from TikTok and YouTube because they already have that market pretty well cornered, and I don't think there's anything new or unique in that same exact space that Twitch can do. So Twitch has to find a better way to tweak their algorithms to gather individual data from those people that come into Twitch to figure out what kind of streamer the individual streamers are, but also what kind of streamer the individual viewers will resonate with. And I think a lot of this is algorithmic in nature.
One of the things you said that was interesting and made me realize something that I wanted to bring up was I think the really valuable thing about streaming is with an audience is that the people tend to like to go and watch a streamer because they like that person already. Like I would sit there and watch, artists that I love or like people that I know from other spaces. If they came to Twitch and started a live stream, I'd be like excited to just have their stream on because I support them. And like if your favorite band just like did a live stream on Twitch one day, just hanging out talking with the audience, like that kind of thing can be, I don't know, there's a lot of room there in that space for streams. That's where I think streams shine. That's what I'm trying to say. I think the real value of streams is like people being like a big fan, and like being able to hang out with their favorite people while they're live. I think it's very hard to like slowly become someone's favorite person. Just like playing video games and being live on Twitch all the time, playing whatever Fortnite or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But then there's also like the other thing about it is there's so many different reasons, even just within Twitch, that people come to a stream, right? Some people are there because they want to watch high level gameplay. Some people are there because they want to interact with the streamer, right? Some people will purposely go to a large stream that has a lot of viewers because they like the hype, they like the chat, whizzing by at a million miles an hour. And then some people will watch somebody who has 2 viewers because they want to talk to somebody and they don't want to, have a whole bunch of other things going on all at once. And then there's, the people who are just plop their kid or their cat in front of the screen and Twitch is just something for the animal to be entertained with, right? So like there's so many different reasons people go to Twitch. And obviously it's the same for YouTube, right? And then for TikTok. There's always different like things that people are after. But when you have like there's so many different niches on Twitch, I feel like it kind of like we say like, oh, there's X amount of viewers on YouTube, right? But like for some reason it just like it's easier for YouTube to just say like, look at all these cool, look how many views we have, look how many people are using YouTube all the time. Whereas like Twitch seems to have that problem. It's the opposite, where it's like they can't really pin down like, oh, look at all these people that we have watching these streams. It's all like fragmented, I guess is the right word for it.
I really do think it's an algorithm problem, though. I don't think that Twitch has put the time and the energy and the science into collecting data on its viewership to guide those viewers to appropriately related content.
Yeah, that's true.
YouTube does a phenomenal job of that. TikTok is an interesting one that is very changeable, but you kind of understand after a period of time what that TikTok algorithm is going to like filter to you. So you can actually like mentally adjust your algorithm in TikTok, right?
Yeah.
It's a very straightforward algorithm, but it's easily adjustable. Whereas I don't understand Twitch's algorithm. It suggests things that I'm like,
It has none as far as I could tell.
yeah, exactly.
It's not, there is no algorithm.
In my opinion, that's 100% the biggest the biggest thing that Twitch has not done well that needs to do well if it wants to continue to be relevant is to figure out a way to create an algorithm that fairly accurately matches the viewer with their interests, because they're going by numbers and games. And you can go into a Minecraft channel, category, I should say, and you will have 20 different kinds, 30 different kinds of people who are streaming Minecraft. Maybe they have no camera and microphone. It's just this chill, like, background music, and they're just building stuff. Or maybe they have, like, a big group of people, and they're all screaming at each other, right? Or maybe it's a challenge run, but they're all in Minecraft. but that may not be what you want to see. You might want to see something very, very specific, and it may not even be necessarily Minecraft related. So what Twitch doesn't do and needs to do is to start looking at that data. What are specific people clicking on, and what types of things are keeping that individual there, and how do they cater or adjust their suggestions, their recommendations based on the individual actions of that viewer. They do a terrible job of that.
Agreed.
Wait, are we going to a space where we all agree again?
Seems that way. Well, because the problem is Twitch has made that, like, for some reason, right? They've just made that a thing they don't want to focus on. They just actively ignore the very
No.
obvious
Yeah, they
elephant
just try
in the
to
room.
take everyone's money.
Like, you know,
I
damn
love
you,
you,
Bezos.
Twitch.
I'm
But
glad
it's
we're
like-
streaming on Twitch to say
on
all this
Twitch,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Twitch.
No, but like these common sense things, right? That everybody has been talking about forever, right? And like, you ask yourself, like, why hasn't any of that been implemented, right? Like, why haven't they given any of that a try, seemingly? Because every time like they hype up a feature, right? It always turns out to be like just like this thing that streamers most of the time already have a solution for.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
through other means, but it's
Yeah.
not as robust, right? So nobody ends up using it.
Yep.
So streamers just end up defaulting back to whatever it is that they had previously because it's better, right? So
Yep.
it just seems like they're insanely slow to they're like they're what's the word, change hesitant. Like they're just afraid that to change anything lest somebody click away from the website. It's like
They
Well, I mean,
should have.
even-
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say when they brought out clips, that would have been a great chance for them to like have some sort of discoverability feature where people could just like go through and browse clips.
I mean, they do kind of have that, but there's no rhyme or reason to it. I almost feel like they're
Well, it's not like
presented to you
TikTok style or
randomly.
something like.
No, and honestly, that could be helpful, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that I think that they've kind of failed to incorporate algorithmically in an intelligent way is tagging. Like they've expanded tagging.
Yeah.
But I know most of us that have tried to sort of customize and create tagging thoughtfully, I don't think anyone's seen an impact.
There's
on
been a
that.
minimal impact, but I just think that's
Yeah.
because viewers aren't trained to search Twitch.
But they shouldn't be. The algorithm should look at the tags of the streams and use that to filter their recommendations. That should be the job of Twitch, not the job of the viewer, I
Yep.
think.
I don't know. When I go to YouTube, I use the search bar when I'm trying to find topics that I want to cover. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, but the search bar in Twitch really kind of just orients you to either a specific streamer or a specific game category. It doesn't really
it
do a
uses
good
the
job
tags.
but it doesn't feel like it does.
Well, that's because it's so new and people don't use it. Like if you go type the word Dreamcast into the search bar on Twitch, you're gonna find people are using that tag. And
Right, but,
hopefully
like-
they're using it while they're playing a Dreamcast game.
I was gonna say like yeah, sometimes people. I mean, I'm guilty of this. I have several tags that I leave up all the time because they're just core to my stream.
Well,
Whatever,
sure.
like Gundam and anime. Like so, like those tags are always up for me. So if you search those tags, you'll find me, playing God of War or whatever. But like, it's the browsing on Twitch just doesn't feel natural,
No.
and that's because it has these, in my opinion at least. It's because everything is so categorized. Like, oh, you have to browse through the category, right? It doesn't just give you like a nice, like, its little spread of things on top, the front page or whatever is just trash. It's
Yeah.
absolute trash. It's like it
Yep.
doesn't give you like this nice presentable thing that you can go, oh, you know what? I haven't seen this game in forever. I remember being excited for that game. Let me go take a look how people playing this game. You don't see that. That just doesn't exist.
So I think one of the only good things Twitch has done recently was making streams more searchable through the tags. The problem is the community on Twitch doesn't use the search bar, so it's kind of worthless in the first place. What they should do, see again, like it goes back to the algorithm. You're saying they need a good algorithm. They need to figure out what viewers like. Well, like let's say you do watch a lot of Dreamcast streamers are using the tag Dreamcast or something, and then that goes in the algorithm so that when you visit Twitch, it suggests to you, hey, this person's playing a Dreamcast game. Instead of having to use the search bar to find somebody who's playing Dreamcast. Twitch should be automatically suggesting to you a streamer you might like based on the content that you're watching. And the only way that Twitch is going to know what you like is something like this tag system, because they don't have a way to be able to tell what your streams are kind of like, what you're doing on your stream. If you like to talk about aliens, the only way Twitch is going to know that is if you use like an alien tag.
But also,
Go ahead.
but also, like, let's face it, Twitch streamers themselves have not been trained to use tags properly. Like,
True,
it's
true.
just not ingrained. Like, I know several people who use silly tags.
Oh,
Who will
for
just
sure.
put like the same tag, like
Smooth brain.
yes, 10 times and just fill up the tag bar with
Yeah.
like big mode. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like that's not using
all
the
a
tags
meme. It's all a meme.
constructively. Yeah. It's an inside joke.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to that Twitch culture that somebody on Twitch, you know, maybe could figure out if they're in that community, but then if you're just outside of that community on Twitch,
Yeah.
you'll never find it because it's, you know, your community is different.
And
So,
the Twitch, yeah, JJ's right. The Twitch's search has always sucked. The only improvement they made was this tag system, and it's still not good.
yeah.
I just
Well, they haven't really even explained it.
no, they
You know,
haven't.
they're like, "Hey,
you have to
this
go figure it out
works,
on your own.
have
Yeah.
And that's not really how it should work, right?
No,
it
it shouldn't.
really, they should explain how these things work to the content creators so that we can utilize them to help grow their algorithm, to help, you know, feed the right viewers to our streams, and they just don't do a good job of
Yep.
that. It's
But
not
also, like,
useful.
But also a lot of viewers, I mean, and I know I'm one of these viewers who are like, yeah, there's a search bar, cool. There's the front page, cool. Oh, look, on the side, all the channels that I follow that I at least somewhat know are reliable. Let me go to
Right,
one
but
of them.
You're already ingratiated into the system.
Yeah, no,
So,
obviously,
like,
yeah.
this stuff is not even for us, right? Because, you know, we kind of trust our streamers to rate into people, and we kind of try to learn about new people from the other streamers that we already trust. What Twitch needs to work on and what Twitch needs to do is to figure out how to cater to the new people, how to help people who come into Twitch who are looking for a new streamer. How do they get directed to something that's going to resonate with them?
And even
Because we already
worse,
know what to look for.
most people use Google to find anything on the internet, and
Sure.
Google's not going to bring people to your stream. They're going to
Well-
bring them to YouTube videos and YouTube Shorts
Yep.
and YouTube live streams, and
Mhm. Yep.
so that's really working against Twitch too. Is like people who use the internet, they use Google. I don't know how this whole
Ew,
like Bing
Google.
Chat GBT and like the AI thing is going to play into all of this. That could have a huge impact in the future. We don't know if how that's gonna how an AI is gonna our AI is gonna be all watching our streams and figuring out who we are so that it can promote us to people.
Probably.
I mean, if that
Like,
helps.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm cool
I'm
with
sure it'll
that.
happen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
And then the worst part is the AI will try to chat with you, and you think you're talking to a real person.
I'm
Surprise!
fine with that. That sounds entertaining enough. I'm
Yeah, I
cool
know,
with
right?
that.
Yeah, and fundamentally, Twitch also has a secondary problem. Even if they solve this, we have to deal with like the next barrier of entry for new viewers, which is the ad system.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And it's so confusing. It can be really confusing for the content creator too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Listen, we've all riled against the ads. I think like every other week or whatever. They're terrible. There's no other. They're terrible. Like, and like minor things that people have suggested that could improve the ads. Like for example, like having banner ads that
Or
don't
like
interrupt the
just
stream.
don't do it the moment you go into someone's stream.
Yeah,
right?
like a grace periods in between.
Yes.
Picture in picture that actually works, as opposed to
Yeah.
here's an ad and a tiny little preview of what you might be watching if there weren't an ad, right?
Yeah.
Why not make it the other way around? Why not here's a stream and then oh yeah, here's a little ad on the side for you. Like, it's so messed up. And then not even to get into the the almost insulting amounts of money that are offered for running an insane amount of ads on
See,
Twitch, right?
I think the solution for the ads thing is actually Twitch needs to take its partner program and like make like a different program where like companies actually sponsor streams directly. And then instead of an ad, you end up with sponsorships that are directly tied to the streamer, and like there's a negotiation there. And so when you go live, you're like your stream is the ad for that sponsorship, and maybe you agree to, like, the streamer produces the ad in the same way that YouTubers do when they produce ads for their own channel.
Yeah.
Like, this
Yeah.
video has been sponsored by this company. You know, if you want to check them out, there's a link in the panels below. Use my code at checkout, kind of thing. That is the only real way forward, I think, for ads to work on Twitch.
Well, I think ads during breaks are fine, but they just don't seem to work really consistently for people too.
Yeah,
You know.
if we could control exactly when an ad will play, yeah, that'll be a lot easier. But then,
Yeah.
like, if
There's
I'm
that too. That's
I
If
know,
there's
but-
an easy button, they go,
I don't
I'm
see them
taking a
doing
break.
that.
You hit the button and it plays a 60-second ad while you go use the bathroom or let your cat out or whatever.
yeah,
You
but
know,
then
and they've kind of pitched that, but it doesn't seem in implementation to be working.
But then I've also
Well-
seen like people who are, you know, I've even seen subs, people who are sub to a channel and they still get ads. I've seen people run ads when they're away and then get another ad anyway because the stream crashes. Like
Yeah.
there's just ads upon ads upon ads, and like and every time the stream crash, like my stream for some reason sometimes will freeze up, right? Because
Yeah.
it's probably my browser or whatever. But every time I have to reload a stream because it crashed, guess what? More ads. Doesn't matter what the streamer did. I'm getting more ads because I'm a new viewer, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
So it's this like hyper fixation on trying to get ads out there, and I understand why. I understand that, you know, this is how Twitch earns quite a bit of their revenue, right? In theory. So I get why they want to push ads that hard, but it's to the detriment. It's like you're trying to milk a stone, right? It
Well,
doesn't work.
the reason I think that other version would work best is because then the streamer has control over what
Actually,
is
Invi-
going
in-
on. You know,
Invis pointed out a good thing. Bring back ads for bits. Let people
Yeah.
watch an ad and earn bits.
yeah,
Like, there you go.
Yeah.
That
Or
would
at least-
incentivize me to watch an ad.
Or at least have the streamer have a little bit of control over the ads, because sometimes you'll see like ads for things that are. Remember they had the condom ads for a little while. You guys remember they had the like Trojan ads? I don't
Yep,
want
yeah, I remember.
condom ads running on my stream. Like, that's just
I don't.
See, I just
support-
don't care. I don't care what ads run during my stream, right? So
no,
it's
but
like,
like you know, if you're someone who has like a certain
no, but that's true
vibe,
though. Yeah, if you're,
you
yeah, no,
know,
absolutely
and then
right.
it's
No,
like try Trojan for her pleasure, and you're like, wait a second, that's not really. That doesn't really
Yeah.
line up
and
here.
it double sucks if you know, when you're a woman on Twitch, right? Oh, this feels a little targeted, you know, a little bit, like just
Yeah.
slightly, you know.
I just
No,
want the streamers to have more control over what is happening with like the ads and the sponsorships and stuff like that directly,
Yeah.
so that they can
Agreed.
make their own decision. Because then the benefit is the streamer can be like, hey, look, I don't want any sponsors on my stream, so now there's 0 ads.
Yeah.
and there's 0, you know, breaks where you're talking about whatever frickin' company. That's more in your control at this point, and it's also more in the sponsor's control, because JJ brought up a good point in chat. He said, who wants a lot of streamers, these companies probably don't want representing their product.
Yeah. They don't have control over it either.
Yeah, and it's like, and a lot of times for streamers, right, the only way you know what's running is if somebody tells you, right? Because you don't, most of the time you don't see, I mean, I don't see the ad. I don't know if there's a way to, unless you have like something in the background, I guess. But like, I don't normally pay attention to the ads that run during my stream. So
Yeah, I don't
Like,
think there's
how
a
do
great
I-
way to even see them.
you know what? I wish there was a way to select which ads you want to run, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Like here, like, you know,
Agreed.
or doesn't even have to be specific company. It could just be like, yeah, run ads for gaming, run ads for board games, run ads for, hell, run ads for condoms. I don't care, but like just being able to select like what kind of ad plays on your channel would definitely, because like also, like most streamers who are at all decent at this know their community enough to know what their community will sit through and what
Yeah.
their community will tolerate and put up with, versus, you know, the same stupid annoying Papa John's ad that makes me want to
Ugh.
yeet my computer out the window. You know, like if I
Now
ever
it's a
see
Taco
that ad,
Bell ad. Yeah.
yeah, well, if I ever see that ad again, it'll be too soon. So, you know, like, you know, it's just it's one of those things that are like there's so many like small common sense things that they could do, and just for some reason they're like, nope, doesn't make us enough money, not doing it.
Yeah.
Bezos needs his bucks. If
I
you're
don't
if you're
know.
listening, Daddy Bezos, hi.
Stop it.
Stop.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Bad. No.
So how do we get? Is there? I think we're at a place where we're just realizing that there's nothing we can really do to like make
Oh,
Twitch
I've been in
bigger.
that place for a while.
You
There's
guys.
nothing we at the individual level can do, right? It's a beautiful unicorn of a dumpster fire place that, that I love in so many ways, but I also hate in so many ways.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's people at the bottom, if you will, that are screaming common sense, but it's always the people at the top that don't really have experience in the trenches making decisions. And that's so true across so many places. It's just, I guess maybe we just don't have enough people with power that actually can enact those changes that also have the experience to speak to those changes. And I think other companies may have had that advantage that Twitch just really hasn't had. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's gonna take the top streamers all like finally figuring out what they need, and then like pressuring Twitch for those kinds of that stuff to happen.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, it's a lot easier on YouTube, right? We talk about the concept of whales here. Like, again, I feel like the nature of Twitch being so fragmented and viewers and size being so spread out amongst the community, right? There's only like one or two really big streamers who have any kind of pull, right? Whereas on YouTube, there's enough creators with enough of an audience that if they all band together and go no, YouTube will be like, okay, and like it feels like on YouTube they have more bargaining power, like collective bargaining almost in a way that we just don't possess here on Twitch, right? And no matter how much we scream, cry, and shout, Twitch is just gonna do what they're gonna do, and we have to deal with it. So
Well, what seems
I
to
don't know.
happen is instead of like enacting change, the big streamers just leave.
That too, yeah, they go to YouTube.
Yeah, that has been happening.
Easier for some people, or they go to TikTok, or they go to whatever, but like, or they just flat out quit. There's that too, right? The streamer burnout. You put all this effort into a stream and you see very little return, in the short run. Yeah, people will burn out. So
I'm
it's-
seeing a lot of people kind of pare back on their streaming and rethinking about how they want to approach everything at this point. I think a couple years down the line, it's just going to get worse and worse. I'm seeing less people like approach Twitch seriously, and even like people who are doing well on Twitch, they're finding more success like because of their Twitch position has allowed them like opportunities outside of Twitch to like make things work for them and like stabilize their life because the Twitch income is so destabilized from the beginning. One month you make $3,000 just from tips, and the next month you make 500. It's all over the place. And how do you pay a mortgage or raise children in that circumstance? I'm starting to feel more and more like Twitch is a great adjacent to being successful somewhere else.
yeah, there's a lot of that for sure. There's a lot of people who are like, here's my main gig, but also come watch me on Twitch.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's not there honestly when you think about larger like full-time content creators, there are very very few of them that are on a single platform anymore.
Yeah.
Even YouTube's almost every person who has more than 500,000 subscribers on YouTube also have a Patreon, also have a TikTok. They're
How much work
gone
is that
on-
stuff?
Well, so they regurgitate. They hire someone to cut up and regurgitate that information, right? Once you're
Yep.
big enough to expand into those spaces, you make exclusive content that's really just, editor curated content. But the thing is, gone are the days of individuals who are financially and solely supported by a single platform. That just doesn't happen anymore, not realistically.
No, it
That
doesn't.
hasn't
doesn't.
happened for like 10 years though.
Yeah.
Like that's not been a thing for a while.
Yet so many people who come onto Twitch, especially freshly come onto Twitch as a streamer, are treating it like that's the thing. That's what they're doing. And I hate to be like, go to YouTube too, but it's like if you want it to be a sustainable, viable, long-term goal, it doesn't matter what is your primary form of content. And I know some of us don't love the word content, but I'm using it. Content.
It's the word
Well, in this
everyone
context-
uses.
Content.
In this context, it makes sense because what you're talking
Yeah.
about is like taking one thing and chopping it up and repurposing it for a bunch of different
Right.
things.
Yeah, and that's the way of it, right? Because it's not necessarily about the quality us in spaces. A lot of times it's about quantity. You have one space that's quality, and then you sort of vomit pieces of it in other spaces to reach those other groups, essentially, right? Everyone on YouTube has a Patreon. Everyone's got a TikTok now. Everyone's got a Discord. Everyone's, a lot of people who are big on YouTube have a Twitch that they happen to stream on every couple of weeks or something. That's just the way of the social media content person now if you want it to be sustainable.
MySpace.
I would love to bring back MySpace. That was so fun. And also toxic, but fun.
Okay, so like,
Toxic
what are
motherfucker.
we as Infinite Quality gonna do about it though? Because we're just providing a lot of problems, like streamer Twitter,
That's a good
from
question.
saying hashtag do better Twitch, but we're not providing anything that we can do right now.
I think it's still
Like
important.
if nothing is perceivably, if every solution we have is at the higher level of the upper echelon
Yeah.
of who runs Twitch, what do we do?
I still
What
think
can
it's
we do?
really important to have a quality stream that's like balanced in how you approach it, fundamentally visual quality, audio quality, so that when new viewers come to Twitch, their experience is a good stream. I think that people should put as much effort as they want to and can into exposing themselves outside of Twitch. I think YouTube Shorts is a good place to do that right now. I'm not sure about TikTok. That could be a whole other discussion. I think that streaming is something that people should like do and enjoy and realize what it is and what's valuable about it. I don't think that they should approach it like this is their going to be their main career at
Agreed.
this point.
Agreed. And we're back to agreeing again.
But I mean that's the thing with any space on the internet now, right? Like you cannot exist in a silo in anywhere. It's not a thing that can happen reasonably anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. Why are we calling Twitch content? True. I think Twitch is a good place to like hang out, meet people, hang out with people who like you, find people who like you, find people you like. I think all of that is really great. Still think it's the best place to be live. I just think it's if you want to be a content creator and you go like we all know people who've spent like way too much money on their setup and they're streaming to 3 people. And then they go and buy like the next most expensive microphone and audio interface, and their audio is still kind of crap even with like really expensive stuff. And it's just like sometimes I think it's just important not to focus your energies in the wrong direction and overdo it in one way or another. The thing about YouTube, I think, and we got to end it here now because I know Snazzy, you need to take off, but I think the fundamental difference is there's a lot more effort everybody could be putting in every direction, and you want to make sure that your effort has kind of a nice payout in that direction. 2 years on Twitch and you haven't seen any growth, maybe you should put a lot of that effort towards YouTube.
Yeah. And even if that means taking the stuff that you've created while streaming live and editing it down and posting it on YouTube or sharing it on TikTok. Anyways.
Tubi and never use it. All right, guys. But anyway, it's just food for thought, stuff to think about. We can continue this conversation in the IQ Discord. So if you guys want to chat with us about this kind of stuff, join the IQ Discord by going to infinitequality.live and clicking on the Discord stuff, the join button. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, thank you. We appreciate you. And
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
there it is.
There it is.
Forget.
Like riding a bike.
I remember things sometimes.